Hello, we're here in Newport, Rhode Island for the Digital CMO Summit. Here at the Hotel Viking are some of the world's leading marketers giving presentations on their challenges and opportunities moving forward. Over the next 2 days, we're going to interview some of those marketers for Digital 180. Enjoy. We're here with Randall Rothenberg from the Interactive Advertising Bureau, and we caught up with him just after he finished speaking, and we're going to ask him a few questions. So first of all, you've talked a lot about sort of online creative and the need to think about that in that context. Can you give us a little bit of what you mean when you say that?
Well, creative is really the thing that affects hearts and minds and changes behavior. I think it's a very simple definition. In interactive media, the opportunity, of course, is much kind of broader and greater than it has been in any other medium, because you can bring in factors and functions that you couldn't, say, in television or magazines. You have sight, sound, and motion. You have community, you have dialogue, you have the ability to allow the creative to, in effect, narrate based on your actions. So it's just a much kind of a broader palette and a greater canvas than we've had in other media.
Now, last night at dinner, you stood up and you told people that things are happening in Washington and people better wake up and understand that. And you said you'd talk more about it today, and I know that that's something that's important for you to talk about, some of the regulatory issues. Can you touch upon that for us?
Yeah, the Federal Trade Commission and some members of Congress have said this industry needs to self-regulate itself, or we're going to regulate it to assure that consumer privacy rights and expectations are met in interactive media. They're most concerned about what we call behavioral targeting or behavioral marketing, and the concern that somehow this will compromise consumers' privacy. The problem is that most of the in fact, all the privacy issues that have arisen have really been around data security and data breaches, things like lost hard drives and all. And we're worried that Congress in particular will throw the baby out with the bathwater to try and protect against errant data breaches will really impinge on the ability to deliver relevant advertising based on consumers' interests to those consumers. So we've taken all this very seriously, and we've taken the FTC very seriously. The FTC has said this industry has to self-regulate. And so we've been working, the IAB, the 4As, the ANA, the Direct Marketing Association, and a lot of our major companies in developing a very meaningful and effective self-regulatory program that we're hoping to go public with and launch within the next couple of months.
Great. Now, another thing that you can sort of sense in the room is this, and you talked about it in your speech, is this tension between direct marketing and branding, and it seemed to create a lot of stir amongst people. So can you talk a little bit about that tension and what your opinion of it is?
Yeah, sure. I think basically if we look at the history of interactive advertising, say over the past 10 years, without necessarily thinking about it or articulating it, we've really invented something that has been much friendlier to direct response advertising and not so hospitable to brand advertising. We've created kind of small ad format units. We've crowded them onto a page. We've said, hey, we're so accountable. We tend to measure responses on the basis of short-term actions or short-term sales. And the reality is that brand advertising is a long-term accruing effect that is aimed not just at getting today's sale at today's offer, but at creating and maintaining premium pricing abilities for clients through time. And so we've been spending quite a lot of time trying to explain to the industry and really evangelize to agencies, to marketers, and to publishers about how to think more expansively, more creatively, and longer term about the opportunities for brand marketing and brand advertising for that kind of premium engagement that takes place through time.
Okay. One last question for you, and this is sort of on the tail of that question, is we've talked before about the crisis of complexity, and here we are at a conference about measurement, but yet there's got to be more to it. So can you give us a little bit of your insight into the crisis of complexity?
through the entire history of advertising and marketing, we lived in a fairly simple world. You used television for big brand advertising. You used freestanding inserts for consumer promotions. You used radio and local television stations to say, buy here now. You used your mailbox for direct response. These things were geographically isolated. Different agencies worked on them, and life was, fairly simple. In interactive, we've created a single medium or a single channel where you can do all those things at once. You can take all those functions represented by the purchase funnel and bring them into a single space. You can even bring them into a single execution. And this creates a lot of complexity in terms of, if you have a single space that is a brand ad, can give you a public relations boost, bring you to a coupon, consumer promotions, and even give you a map to a store done through a trade promotion deal. From an agency perspective, from a marketer perspective, also from a publisher perspective, you face all these questions. How do you organize that? I've got 7 different agencies or departments working on this campaign. Who's in charge? Whose budget is it coming out of? How am I prioritizing the effects I want to measure? Who's going to get the bonus? So from an organizational standpoint, and also from a management process standpoint, let alone from a strategic objective standpoint, this is a very, very different thing than we've ever had to worry about in advertising and marketing services before. So there's a clear need for marketers, and for those of us who support marketers, to come up with more routinized consensus ways of managing and leading these newly complex processes towards common objectives in time.
Great. Randall Rothenberg, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and we'll see you later.
Thank you very much.
Take care.